Hi, welcome to our channel. Today we are going to be reading Cinderella, the magical slipper that changed her life. So let's begin. Once upon a time in a faraway land, there lived a young woman named Ella. She was the most beautiful girl in the kingdom, but sadly, she also had the worst luck. You see, Ella's parents had died when she was very young, and she now lived with her cruel stepmother and stepsisters, who treated her like a servant. They forced her to do all the housework, and wouldn't even let her attend the royal ball. Now, despite her miserable situation, Ella never lost hope. She always believed that one day her life would change for the better. And what a way it did change! One day while she was scrubbing the floor, her stepsisters came rushing into the room, all excited and dressed in their finest clothes. "Oh, Ella," they cried, "we've been invited to the royal ball. Won't you come with us?" Ella's heart sank. She knew they were only inviting her so that she could do their hair and make them look even more beautiful. But she couldn't bear the thought of staying home alone, so she agreed to go. At the ball, Ella's stepsisters met the prince and instantly fell in love with him. They danced with him for hours, completely ignoring Ella, who stood off to the side watching them. Suddenly, the clock struck midnight and Ella realized she had to leave. She rushed out of the palace, losing one of her golden slippers in her haste. The next day, the prince was so enamored with the shoe that he declared he would marry whoever it fit. His Royal Highness sent messengers all over the land to find the owner of the shoe. They went from village to village, showing the shoe to every woman, but it didn't fit anyone. Meanwhile, back at the house, Ella's stepsisters were trying the shoe on. They wanted it desperately, but it didn't fit either of them. When the shoe was finally brought to Ella, she was too afraid to try it on, knowing that if it fit, she would have to go live with the prince and her stepsisters would never allow it. But then something magical happened. A tiny voice came from the shoe. It said, "Don't be afraid, Ella. I know what I must do." The shoe began to glow and Ella slipped her foot inside. It fit perfectly. Overjoyed, Ella put on the other shoe and hurried to the palace. When the prince saw her, he was stunned. He couldn't believe that she was the one whose shoe it fit. They danced together in celebration, and soon Ella became the princess. Now, this is where our story takes a magical twist. You see, Ella wasn't just any ordinary girl. She had a fairy godmother who was very worried about her goddaughter's wedding. Every night before the ball, the fairy godmother would visit Ella in disguise as an old woman. She would bring Ella food and supplies so that she wouldn't have to endure her stepsister's mistreatment. The fairy godmother was also responsible for the beautiful dress that Ella wore to the ball. She had waved her magic wand and transformed a pumpkin into a carriage, mice into horses, and a lizard into a footman. But the most important thing was the shoes. They were no ordinary shoes. They were enchanted. And the enchantment was this: as long as Ella wore them, she would remain the most beautiful girl in the kingdom. But what happens when the enchantment is broken? Well, that's for another story. For now, let's just say that Ella's stepsisters were not happy with how things turned out. They tried everything they could to get rid of Ella, but nothing worked. In the end, they had to live with the fact that their sister was the princess, and they were not. And that is the story of Cinderella, the magical slipper that changed her life forever. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.